I'm Rona Pichu, and I'll be your host for today's webinar on the topic FTA audit and how to prepare and stay compliant. Before we dive right into the webinar, I would like to give a brief introduction about ITC. ITC Accounting and Tax Consultancy is one of the top and most reliable tax agency firms in the UAE. In a short span of time, our team mastered how to give clients the best tax solutions. You can expect an uncompromised attitude when it comes to quality and professionalism. We deliver a seek and professional outcome that sets us apart from the competition. With the leadership of Mr. Ahmed Sharfuddin, we have already positioned ourselves as the VAT and excise tax specialist in the market. We have a fast-growing team of qualified and dedicated professionals with innovative and commercial approaches to meet today's highly challenging business environment. By bringing the best team at your service, highly experienced tax and finance specialists in the industry, International Tax Consultancy will continue to create long-term relationships with various businesses by having the ability to deliver exceptional service that is satisfactory on all levels of quality and speed. As a testimony to our strategic and proven approach, most of the customers we serve are generated through referrals and repeated businesses. I would like to give a brief introduction about the panelists for today's webinar. Mr. Ahmed Sharfuddin. As a founding partner of ITC, Ahmed Sharfuddin is an integral part of the company, having performed hundreds of tax audits and being involved in more than 50 tax litigation cases. He brings to the table a vast experience in taxation and compliance. Since ITC's inception, Ahmed conducted hundreds of VAT and excise health checks, including many of the notorious groups in UAE and the region. With a notorious reputation in tax litigation, he was involved in building the strategy in many tax litigation cases, as he successfully assisted companies in reducing hundreds of millions in administrative penalties. Ms. Nikita Bhandari. Nikita is a seasoned tax professional with close to a decade of experience in a variety of tax-related fields. She has a well-rounded understanding of the industry and has honed her skills through years of hands-on experience. Her expertise in tax advisory and pre-audits has made her a valuable asset to the team, as she is able to handle the most important cases and clients with utmost professionalism. Nikita is known for attention to detail and a strong work ethic. She takes pride in doing her homework and approaching every task with a dedication to getting it right. Her approach has earned her the trust of clients and the respect of colleagues across all departments. She's a leader within the team and takes the time to mentor and teach her colleagues, helping to raise the overall level of knowledge and skills within the organization. With Nikita on the team, clients can rest assured that their tax needs will be well handled with care and expertise. Now I would like to hand over to Ms. Nikita.
Hi, fellow participants. A very good morning. Firstly, I could request my team that they could change the slides so that, sorry for the inconvenience in the between. Yes, so today's webinar is all about, again, as we spoke about this webinar previously in the earlier month, it's regarding the FTA audit, why exactly an FTA audit is required, and how exactly we can prepare ourselves for the same. So giving you a very brief intro what exactly a tax audit is. So a tax audit is generally a procedure taken up by the FTA just to make sure that the companies that they're following the VAT practice is as per their rules and the regulations, and they're not concealing, not doing any fraud practices which can harm the government's economy. So that is why a surprise conduct of audit is being right now practiced by FTA. Earlier also, like in the year 2021, 2022, there were surprise audits which was being conducted by the FTA, wherein they could surprisely visit your premises and ask for your documents. But nowadays, since it's 5 years implementation of VAT, we all know that. And as per the new statute of limitation, which has been brought into the provision of the FTA laws, an audit can be conducted within 5 years of the you see the return which has been filed. Like if the return has been filed in the year 2018, the 5-year ends in 2023. So thus, there is a lot of FTA audit notifications which is coming up for the companies. This is not something very nervous situation, but it is something alarming, because everybody who has been not practicing it as per the FTA regulations and laws, they have to be much more what do you say, much more particular or much more secure about what exactly they are going to disclose in their VAT returns. Because in case if there is an audit notification which is coming up to them, then an audit assessment is also in their way back. So that is how exactly right now the FTA is approaching the companies with the tax audit. Going further with the next slide, that we will explain you how exactly the audit process is. Okay, so now we'll understand exactly why FTA does conduct an FTA audit. Like, why do they approach the companies with the audit? Now, basically, this is for the common reasons are like the high risk industries, examination of records, adherence to the FTA laws, tax liability. Now, high risk industry means some industries are very having a sensitive nature of business, like the petroleum, the crude oil, the real estate industries, the import exporters. They are very like a sensitive industry where the transactions have the impact on the disclosure in the VAT return. Like if I give an example, like in real estate industry, we all know for the residential buildings, at the first supply within 3 years is zero rated, but the others are supposed to be exempt. So that is why it is supposed to be a sensitive industry. Okay. Commercial, it has to be 5%, but residential, it has to be only zero rated. Zero rated for the first supply and rest the exempt. So the apportionment of the expenses must take place in this case. Now, since the apportionment has to take place in terms of the expenses we are taking in, that is why this makes it as a very sensitive area of business. Same way with crude oil, same way with petroleum, because where the petrols are, the imports are coming in, how exactly do you disclose the transaction in your VAT return? Again, that is very important. That is why whenever FTA wants to go for an audit, or they want to inspect exactly whether this business is doing the transaction as per the FTA law, they shall zero in on such basis, okay, the search factors. So now next is examination of records. Now, do we all understand that whenever we are going in for the refunds, or when we're going in for the voluntary disclosures and all, the main thing that VAT is all based upon is documentation. How exactly do you keep your documents with you? Okay, so when you go for the refunds, you're expected to submit a top 5 invoices for the sales and top 5 invoices for the expenses. So in that case, if you don't have a documents in place, then that could be a big problem, because as I said, that VAT is all about maintaining and retaining your documents. On that basis, do you claim in your VAT return? Same way with the imports and exports as well. So if you don't have your retention of your documents and maintenance of the documents, then you do not be able to claim for the expenses. Okay, so as also it is very well right now highlighted by the FTA in the new provisions of the law, like the new amendment, that retention of the documents is very important in order to claim for the input tax. So in case if you don't retain it, you cannot claim it. So that is one of the issues that we have to be, taking care in about. Third, adherence to the FTA laws. So now when we say to adherence of FTA laws is, as per the law, they have defined the way to disclose or the way to treat a transaction having a right tax point, having the right tax treatment. So according to which the disclosure has to be put up in the VAT returns. Like if I could just say that, take an example, the very famous example, the international transportation case. So the international transportation case, wherein if you are responsible for the complete transportation taken from point A to point B, then it could be a zero rated. But if you're responsible only for the domestic leg, again, that is your 5%. So again, your tax point here is very important. That's why That's why it has been said that adherence to FTA laws is again important for you, how you disclose in the VAT return. Because even a wrong disclosure, though it may not have a tax impact at some cases, like even if it's an out of scope sale, you show zero rated or vice versa, it doesn't have an impact, but does it gives a hint to the FTA that you're not been following as per the FTA rules and regulations. This could lead to have an audit open on your company. So that is why adherence to FTA laws is important. Then is tax liability. So the very basic and the very most common point is a tax liability. So now, if you delay in filing your VAT return, that is a late filing penalty. If you're not paying your liability, okay, you filed a VAT return, so let's say on 28th, that's the last day of the due date, but you failed in paying the liability on the very same day, or you delayed it for the next, then again that reflects on your portal, the VAT return portal. And also to say, there are certain risk score areas which FTA easily gets into. You can get an idea that this company does have some of the other discrepancies, or they're not following what exactly is written by the law. That is one of the reasons of the tax liability. If you're not paying your liabilities on time, not filing your returns on time, having a lot of VDs, this highlights that, okay, this you are not being able to follow the FTA rules and regulations. There could be a lot of discrepancies or loopholes in your areas of business transactions. So these were we have highlighted the few basics and the most prominent ones where it exactly goes in for the FTA audit. Okay. So moving on for the next slide, please. Audit process. So now we understood why exactly FTA has to conduct an audit, like what are the reasons that FTA may conduct an audit. Now we shall tell you exactly how an audit process goes in. So it is written that as per the Federal Decree Law number 28 of 2022, the period for the auditor to notify the tax recipient has increased from 5 working days to 10 working days. So earlier, before the 1st of March 2022, the auditor used to only give 5 working days to even to notify you that there could be an audit assessment and to even arrange your documents as well. But now, considering the plight of the tax recipients, the government has taken a great step in increasing the increasing the days, that is from 5 to 10 working days. It also says that an auditor has the right to enter the office or the business place to conduct an audit in their working hours. Then, just in case, if they enter your business, they will ask you the basic documents like your sales, the purchase, the taxable, exempt, your import, export, recoverable, non-recoverable. So these are the basic things that they can ask you for the documentation. Also, it could be a reason that they can even have a sneak peek in your financial accounts by asking you your trial balance. So that is how exactly an FTA the auditor, if they come or they visit, or if they have an assessment or notification to you, they will ask you these kind of details for them to review your books of accounts and your VAT returns and documents. Then there is also a certain situation wherein FTA can temporarily, ask you to close your office premises, but not more than for 72 hours. That was for the following cases: if they have a ground belief that you have a tax evasion case, that you're concealing, misappropriating with the facts, and you are, fooling the government while filing your returns. So that is one. And they also believe that if they temporarily close your business premises, it shall not hinder your business process, then they can do so. And if the tax recipient has received an advance notice of the tax audit, and also if there is an attempt to stop the tax auditor from entering the place it is to perform, then definitely it cannot be, it can be closed for 72 hours, but for not more than it. Also, it requires a director general, obviously, a permission for the same. But yes, if these are the ground situations and the reasons to believe in, then they can definitely have the right to close your office premises at least for 72 hours. And as I said that, again, audit can be only conducted during the official working hours if they have the reason to believe in that it can go, and if it's a tax evasion case, then definitely they can go ahead, but again without the approval of the Director General, only then they can go after the office hours. And again, in case if there is any new evidences or any new substantial proof they're having, that to again open an audit on the same case while they're working on it, they can do so. And that's how exactly an audit process takes place from the FTA's end. If we can move for the next slide, please. So now we understood why exactly the FTA has the reasons to conduct the audit, how the audit process takes place. Now we know what exactly the tax recipient have the rights. That is, they can request the tax auditor to show their job identification card so as to know that they are from the FTA. Second, they can also attend the tax audit which takes place outside the FTA premises. Third is tax audit notification. Like I said, in the new amendment of the federal law number 28 of 2022, that is after 1st of March. First, you will be notified for a tax audit assessment. That will be at least 5 days before 5 business days prior to the tax audit. And then they shall be giving you 10 business day working days to arrange the documents once the assessment is received. So also I would like to say a notification does imply that a company is under a tax audit. So there in the notification, they do imply that which period the company is going in for the tax audit, and what are the documents, or they have to be keeping it ready. So if you have at least received a notification, I think it's a time that you act fast in keeping the documents ready, rather than not to wait for the FTA to come and knock on your doors and to ask them, because that would be a great hassle to keep all the documents ready for the same. Then you can also ask them that the original papers or digital documents, whatever was seized during the audit by the FTA, you can ask them just for your review, or you could know on what basis have they come to a conclusion when they're doing a tax audit assessment. Okay, so these were your FTA, as per the FTA, it has been conferred on you the rights for the tax recipient, that these are your rights during an audit process, and these you can ask the FTA auditor. Going to the next slide, please. So outcome of an audit. So how once the audit has been conducted and it has been done with the all as per the audit process conferred by the FTA, then as I said that it has to be notified within 10 days. So when the person subject to audit to be notified about the results within 10 business days from the end of the audit, we, the tax recipient, can request the documents or the information on which the tax assessment has been made. Then in case if there is something about request to be in case if you have any appeal, or if you really don't like if you want to have the documents, or you want to wish to see exactly how the assessment has been conducted, the request should be submitted within 20 business days from the date of the notice. And authority that the FTA is liable to provide you with the required information within 10 business days. So once you receive the assessment, that's what you can do. You can ask them exactly how have you got into the results. Also, if the taxpayer has filed late returns or paid tax on a later date than the due date, then he can file for reconsideration or penalty waiver. And if the taxpayer has an objection to the FTA, he can also go forward with an appeal. Okay, so you can go for an appeal, but there is one again a new amendment which has been come up with the first from the federal decree law, that you can go for an appeal, but it is required that it is not you must not go for a reconsideration. And whatever the outcome of the appeal, that would be considered as you see the final ones. So obviously there won't be a chance that you go for the higher court or the authorities for the same. So definitely, and that is a very, I could consider that appeal could be the a shortcut if a person really wants to doesn't want to go for the hassle and directly go for the authority appeal. But again, depends on the tax recipient how exactly the way they would require to go forward with. Next slide, please. So what are the key points that is to be noted? That now considering in this slide, what has been shown is exactly the outcome of the FTA audit assessment been taken case in the different parts of the country. Like one is in the Saudi Arabia, and also in UAE, how exactly FTA, when they do an audit, how the companies have been penalized. So that is just a view to give and to view to alarm the tax recipients that a tax audit notification is not something just like to be taken in a very lighter note. It is required for us to take actions and to mend your books of accounts, mend your returns, at least to make an effort to review the same so as to know that these points needs to be rectified before FTA comes and ask you to rectification. Because any you say that any wrongdoing, if it is rectified from our end first, it's always a safer net than the FTA asking you to correct it. So because then there could be the situation of they adding the penalties and they asking you to having the BDs and disclosure and so forth. So definitely these points which has been stated below are one of the examples why an FTA audit notification is something an alarm, and also the first step that you must take care of your books of accounts and disclosure of your documents or your transactions in the VAT returns, and maintenance of the document is the key. Okay, so saying in like levy of $100 million penalty by Zakat, that's Tax and Custom Authority of on Uber and Careem. Then there is a courier delivery application, consideration to file for liquidation on receipt of 100 million demand in Saudi Arabia. And then their business in UAE could also face heavy penalties on account of wrong disclosures, wrong calculation of VAT, late payments, late submission of VAT returns. And it's in order to rectify or just to take an protective measures that business should undergo an exhaustive review audit by independent VAT experts to identify the exposure areas. Now, in just a case to highlight it, just a brief, the last point that why do we say that you must go for an independent review or audit by VAT experts apart from the in-house ones? Because a third party, when reviews your books of accounts, it will always give you unbiased views and unbiased remarks. Okay, and also it will help the in-house people to make aware if there is any amendments or changes which has been done by the FTA. Usually we always know that the in-house people are also very well versed and very well understood about the FTA policies, but VAT experts always are dealing with the same situations, the same set of challenges, and they're much more prone in able to rectify the or able to overcome the challenges what the company would be facing by the FTA or by the ignorance of you complying with the regulations. So thus it is always recommended just to have a third party overview, and that would actually save and it would also streamline the business going further. So going for the next slide, please. So how to prepare for a tax audit? So as I was telling you that application of audit can knock your door unannounced. The following basic tips could be the last hour savior from the inconvenience to prepare for an audit. So as I was telling you the whole complete the PPT slides, that how exactly a notification of audit is just an alarm that yes, there could be an assessment, there could be a check, a surprise check. So how you must be preparing for it. And in this, we have two things. That is, one is documentation as per the FTA guidelines. That is, documentation is something very important. Why? Because documentation is the key and the basis of which you prepare your VAT return. Be it for your imports, be it for your exports, like the exit certificates, like from since 2022 half year, and so many webinars we have conducted till now. I've been very much pressing on this point of exit certificates, wherein they have been so specific about having an exit certificate when you're doing an export. In case if you don't have it, they're asking you to reverse it. And trust me, the amount which they're asking in again is a higher amount, because 5% on the exports, when you're already taking a zero rated, consider it's a long thing. It's like a big tax exposure amount which is coming up for you. So definitely making sure you have an exit certificate. Same way for imports, ensure you're having all the documents that is required for the imports as well. And for the input tax. Right now, the government again has put it up very clearly stated in the amendment that retainership of the input documents is important, without which you cannot be able to claim it. And I think that is much sufficient now, that why documentation has to be so important for us. Then updated books of accounts as per the VAT returns. This is a very common practice we have seen in the company, like we have seen in the UAE, that the books of accounts don't tally with your VAT returns. There are the chances that your sales, which has been showing in trial balance, the sales that is showing in the VAT returns, it don't tally. It may tally when you're filing the return, but at the end of the day, you go and do a back-end entry and it doesn't tally with your VAT return. So it is always, advised that never have an adjustment entry during the filing of the, like, once the returns is filed, don't have a backdated entry. Make sure if you could adjust in the coming months, or adjust the next return, because it is always a good practice to close your books of account as and when your returns have been filed. It shows that you're sync with the returns that you're being filing with the FTA government, and the government is also assured that there is no kind of a misconciliation happening within the organization going forward. So again, as I said, documentation, the previous slide I've been saying and stressing it so far, we can know what the benefits of having a proper documentation, that it acts as an evidence regarding to adherence to the policies. It acts as a reference purpose for the company as well. And even if the FTA comes, if we can refer exactly when the document has been received and when it has been claimed in the VAT return. And also, just in case if the FTA believes in not considering that particular transaction, you having the retainership of this documentation safeguards it from any tax impact. So definitely documentation is the key. So I again request all the tax recipients, if not from previously, please, from the henceforth going forward, you please kindly have all the documents in place wherever there is going forward for a good business practice, because documentation is the key, and that is where will help you in going forward with, if any, God forbid, but for any future FTA transaction communication with them going forward. So we'll understand why FTA audit is not that bad. Like, there is a lot of misconception that whenever there is an FTA audit notification when it comes up, the very start I said it's not a very bad thing, but it is just that an FTA audit notification is just a realization or a knock that, okay, now you have to streamline your business. Because unless and that we are very compliant, okay? Humans are very compliant, otherwise we're not. So that is just a knock, just to say, to remind you that what exactly has to be as per the law and order, and why it is a good business practice to follow it. So few myths around of the FTA audit is: one, it's a time consuming; second, it's a complicated process; it's too much of paperwork and documentation; it's a penalty stress; and it's a lack of timely response. Summing up all, you can all save this with the we can all save this with, as I said in the previously, documentation, following the rules and regulations. From the very beginning when you do it, obviously these things can be saved upon. And also having a third-party viewer to view your books of accounts and to review your documentations, review your VAT returns, also helps in saving you with all these hassles going forward. So as I was telling you regarding a third-party third-party review of your documents. So I just want to highlight on one of our services that we provide is the VAT health check. So what is a VAT health check? That is, a VAT health check is nothing but we are examining whether whatever the returns that you have been filing, whatever you'll be disclosing or revealing to the government with your VAT returns in the portal, are they aligned with the FTA laws or regulations or not? Are they the documentations are set or not? So these are the one of the biggest things. Are you filing the VAT returns in time or not? And the main three reasons for the importance is that first, the management gets aware of the tax practice and organization. As I said, the management, the in-house people are very competent enough, no doubt. They are knowledgeable enough. But at times, it does happen that with the routine work, with the day-to-day practices, it's very difficult to keep an update on whatever is going new and what are the actual business procedures or how the FTA communication takes place. So definitely, if you have a VAT health check, you know what are the new amendments. In case if there is any FTA communications to be communicated to them, how exactly it's to be done, that could be done in a VAT health check. We can help you in that. Secondly is identifying the human errors or practices, like in case there could be a chances while entering human error are something the most common mistakes found in the world, that while disclosing some transactions, you misinterpreted it by putting the numbers in the return. It has been, um, it could be there has been error or omission. So again, that VAT health check again eliminates that error as well. And again, third party viewpoint, obviously it gives you an unbiased manner offering. It will always give you a neutral observation. It will more evaluate on the tax exposures. It will highlight your gray areas, the risky areas that a company must be taking in care when uh, filing the VAT returns and the disclosing the transactions going forward. So this is the VAT health check process. Like I told you, what exactly a VAT health check, why is it important? We even understood the reason for the same, but now we can tell you what exactly ITC is doing with the health check. What is our VAT procedure, audit procedures, and how we can help you in eliminating all the hassles that we saw, like the time consuming, the penalty stress, the documentation, the FT communication, and all that. So firstly, we identify we do the VAT reconciliation with the returns and your working sheets. We even look into your what you say that uh, trial balances, like how the FTA will conduct. Since Mr. Ahmed Sharafuddin was been a part of an FTA for a very long time and was very crucial in implementing the VAT audio when it was being implemented in the UAE. So he definitely understands the process, how exactly it will be taken up by the FTA. And also he believes in being giving a solution driven audit process. So in this way that whenever we do an audit check process, we make sure that we identify each and every area, highlight each and every gray area, and also give you a solution in the end, what exactly would be the next step before FTA comes into your doorstep. So as I said, that assessment, that is identifying the risk factors, gap identification, profile parameters, review of the computation, is it right, filed in the right time, paid on the right time or not. VAT returns, again, I said, VAT working on the VAT returns, we reconcile. We even take into the, see the financials, the trial balance, just reconcile with the returns. Areas of improvement, we do have a sample check. And once we do that, we do look into the gray areas highlighted to the management, ask them how exactly they can be streamlining their businesses with the transactions that are taking place and how it has to be disclosed and what documents has to be sent. And also pay correct payment tax due, that before liability tax due, that is before 2080, must be paying it to the government. Okay, so with this, we actually understand the process and operations of the company, identify the opportunities, reconcile the returns and audit financial statements, and identify your potential exposure risk areas. Going forward, please. So with this, we have summed up the complete why exactly an FTA tax audit is required. I would just request Mr. Ahmed Sharafuddin to again put a more highlight on exactly what we spoke today, like with his experience and with his knowledge in this area for more than 5 years now, and he having been the core person who has been implemented the structure for the audit process. He will be the right person to sum it up with giving his expertise and insights on this FTA audit process. Mr. Ahmed Sharafuddin, over to you.
I was saying, first of all, I would like to thank Nikita for what she has given as an information today. It was such a great presentation from her side. And also, I would like to thank everyone for attending with us and trying to hear what we have been trying to say for the past past 4 years since the ITC started, that we were trying to give the people some information about how the taxes should be tackled over here in the UAE. So going back to what Ms. Nikita was saying, the FTA has the right to audit any company for any kind of reasons, because they have to make sure that the compliance has been conducted and that you have been all your working were in compliance with the FTA laws and regulations. So the audit can be done for so many reasons, like based on your risk score, based on the industry wise, based on a lot of things. Maybe while they are reviewing another taxpayer, your invoices has been shown to them and you might have made wrong tax invoice or so on. So about the rights and how it should go, I think Nikita has done such a great work when it comes to that. So, but I just want to say that sometimes, not only sometimes, but all the time that I have been reviewing and working with the clients, most of the people who have got penalized, they have got penalized just for inceptions. They believe that they are doing good, they are doing great. Yes, they are doing good and they are doing great, but that is the best that they can do. There is more. There is more should be done in the terms of interpretations. The FTA interpretations for the law are different than the people outside in the market are having, and so on. So it's always beneficiary to have a third party, someone who is experienced with the FTA and working with the FTA and having conducted lots of audits, not with the FTA. And I'm not trying to refer to that, but I'm saying that we should, as a company, try to take a third party, someone who has conducted health checks and he has dealt in some cases when it comes to the litigation. So I don't want to make it more long. I know that we have made it for an hour, so let's go for the questions. So the first question is Ms. Diana Garcia. Hello. Would you know which are the high-risk industries? Thanks. So the high-risk industries, it's, how to say, there are some industries that consider to be high-risk industries. We cannot say it all, but like we can just like give an example. An example for that is the contracting companies, because the internal controls in the contracting companies, it's very low, considering that they have many sites that they are working on. So there will not be that much of compliance in terms of having the input taxes and the input tax invoices and so on. There will not be that much control. Does the outcome means audit report here? There is no process for the audit memo note period to issuance of the audit report. Okay, so let me try to tell you how it works exactly. So first, when the FTA sends you a notification, they send you a notification and giving you a timeline with 10 days, and then they will start asking you for some documentation, which I think need to have spoken about it, but let me brief it for you. If the audit is for the year of 2018 or starting from 2018, so they are going to ask you for the financials of 2017, and they are going to look for the other people to see if you have applied the transitional rules in the right way or not. So that's the first thing, the financial. Then they are going to, in the same email, they are going to ask you for the trial balances. They are going to ask you to fill the VAT returns so they can reconcile it together. That is the second process. Third, to see that the tax treatment. Third, they are going to ask you about some samples to see the tax treatment for each and every invoice that you have like deducted and claimed back has been done correctly or not. After that, they are going to speak with you and they are going to explain to you about the whole process and what they have done. They are going to issue the tax assessment along with the penalties assessment. Okay, and you have 40 days until you can ask them to reconsider and to look again on the process of the audit. After that, you have the reconsideration and so on. After filing a voluntary disclosure, Mr. Sahij, after filing a voluntary disclosure, do we have to pay a penalty on excess VAT payment? Oh, yes, of course, you will have to pay. You will have to pay the amount, and after that, you will have to pay the penalty pertaining to that amount, the delta. Okay. Ms. Femida was liable to pay corporate tax. Okay. I believe that we're speaking about the indirect tax, but like the corporate tax and who's going to pay it, it's going to be the company itself, because it's like corporate tax for the companies, not for people. Without exit copy, can we apply VAT? If you don't have an exit certificate, you will have to apply the standard rated percentage, the 5%. If you have the exit certificate, then you can treat it as a zero rated. So now it is coming from Mr. Anonymous attendee. During the FTA audit, they might choose any random period instead of starting from early 2018, the VAT implementation. Again, it's up to the auditor himself and it's up to the FTA. So far, what we have seen, most of the audits started from 2018 onwards. They might make it for 1 year, 2018 only. They might make it for 2018 and other 2 or 3 periods as well. So it's up to the auditor. Hi, do you have someone in Al Ain City? Mr. Tariq Ismail. We have our office in Abu Dhabi. So you might try to contact them. I think Abu Dhabi, Al Ain City is under Abu Dhabi branch. Okay, Mr. Chino Jaco, who received the notification, okay, of a tax audit for year 2018 from FTA on March 31. When we applied for a refund request for a big amount of 2018, there is no other notice after that. They will send us again before coming to the office. Okay, so now it's a little bit, it's a little bit critical to answer that question. So I would like to invite you for a meeting so I can advise you on a better way for such an issue. But so far, you will not be able to get your refund until the FTA clears the audit. Okay, it's another tax. It's another tax audit. So let's not mention the name. We have received the tax audit 3 weeks ago. We submitted all the required documentation within the 5 days period. Afterwards, we follow up with them and they replied that they need to cross-check with the suppliers if it is matching with the records. My question is, what if the supplier does not maintain enough or correct documentation? Will it affect our VAT audit? Yes, of course, it will affect your tax audit, but it depends if it will be an output or input. So if they are checking your suppliers to know if your input tax are correct or not, and if they have put it in their tax returns or not. Unfortunately, lately, lots of suppliers, they are just like issuing invoices and they are not keeping it and not putting it as in their tax return, which it will backfire as both of them, and it will be in a it will get both of the companies in a hassle to prove that the supply has been done or not. Good morning. I have a question. If an establishment, Mr. Amr Smadi, I have a question. If an establishment in mainland built a building, commercial and residential, in the name of the owner of the establishment, does the establishment charge VAT to the owner as a customer? It will pay based on the establishment itself. What is the legal incorporation for it? If it is an LLC, then they have to charge the owner with the VAT. If it is sole establishment, then they consider that both of them, the owner and the establishment, are one. So there will not be any need for anything. Mr. Narayanan, I have a doubt about real estate VAT returns. If you have doubt, then please try to contact the tax agent so to clear your doubts. Please share the presentation. Of course, it will be shared with everyone. How can we get your VAT health check services? I think you can contact one of the commercial team within our company or they will contact you after the meeting, the webinar. So, and Mr. Anonymous attendee again, if the company receive an audit notification and the accountant is on vacation outside UAE, how can the audit time can be changed? I think it will depend on the tax auditor himself, but I don't think that should not change the timing for the auditor, and he should not take it in consideration. I don't think so. That's my honest personal opinion. Zubaira Ijaz, are you conducting tax trainings on weekends? Right now we are not, but so soon, like within the next month, we are going to start making the trainings and special courses for the indirect tax and the direct tax as well. And I think the timings will be suitable for whoever wants to learn something about taxation. Anonymous attendee. Can we apply zero VAT on providing service in UAE for foreign companies? Unfortunately, you cannot. It should be standard rated because the recipient is over here in UAE, regardless if it is a branch of whatever the legal incorporation of it. Ms. Diana Garcia, thank you. You're welcome. I'm sorry, I would love to answer all your questions. I see that there is a lot of questions and I seriously do enjoy answering the questions, but unfortunately we don't have the time for that. So I would strongly recommend whoever have more questions to ask for a meeting or to send an email, and I will be more happy to answer all your queries and all your questions. So I think our commercial team will be contacting you to ask a survey about a webinar. So you can address them for any concerns that you want, and they will try to help you with the maximum that they can. So Last, I would love to thank everyone over here. I would like to thank Ms. Nikita and all the people who have worked for to make that event happens in real. So I would like to thank the whole of ITC and thank my teams as well. And I wish to see you in the next in the next events as well. Thank you so much and have a great day.